Broadcasting from the heart of the Colorado Rockies, it's 4th and 99 with your hosts, David Slade, Keith Brookman, and Matt Stappiero. Now let's talk football here on 4th and 99.
Hey, good evening, everybody, and welcome to another amazing show of 4th and 99 here at the Rocky Mountain Sports Network, where we talk all things Denver Broncos, and we throw in a little bit of NFL talk as well. I'm your host, David Slade, and with me tonight is Keith Brugman from nice, balmy Montana.
Yeah, beautiful, balmy Montana, yes. Bundled up beyond belief is what more like it, buddy. So,
yeah. How is the weather up there? Cold,
I think I saw 4 degrees as our high today, so that was kind of nice, get up above the 0 mark, so
wow.
Yeah, it's been bitter. The crazy thing is, it was one of those we call them one of those Montana winter days that that you always see. It was beautiful sunshine, and like I said, got up to a high of 4. It was like not a cloud in the sky. Just kind of amazing. Didn't even melt the snow, you know what I mean? So that's how cold it was, even though the sun was beaming down on us. So
yeah. And if anybody's wondering where Matt is, tonight is Matt's wife's birthday. So, and Matt has this horrible cold and everything else. So Matt's not joining us. So we get to talk about Matt tonight.
Yeah.
And all of this misinformation that Matt's been telling everybody out there.
Yeah, everything he's wrong about, everything he's told you that is just completely in the toilet information. It's going to be all about Matt's show.
Yes,
and I don't expect him to comment at all, or probably even like this podcast after we're all done.
Yeah, probably not. So anybody out there that has any complaints about Matt, just throw your comments out there. We'll definitely throw them up there tonight. So no, we're just kidding. We love Matt. Hope he gets to feeling better, and hope his wife has a happy birthday. So
yeah, happy birthday, man.
We miss his wonderful insight on certain topics. So
select topics.
Yes, select topics. So all right. Well, we're gonna start off with a little bit of not some somber news. I mean, if everybody's seen or heard now, John Madden passed away yesterday. So 85 years young, I guess. I mean, I didn't even realize he was that old, Keith.
Yeah. Me and you are 2 different generations, and I was thinking about that as we came in for this too, because you probably remember a few more coaching years than I remember. I remember more commentator years and video game years for me,
right.
For who John Madden was. For me, he was always a fixture on ever since I was a little kid. It seemed like broadcasting on television. So for me, he did seem a little bit more aged probably than maybe you did, but sorely missed. Just a fantastic human, and what a wonderful promoter for the NFL, and let alone what he did for the Raiders organization. So
yeah, definitely. So I mean, I despised him growing up because he was the hated Raiders coach, and they were so good. But once he got into the booth, I mean, I just loved the guy. I mean, his energy he had. He pretty much invented the telestrator, and he's out there diagramming all over the place and showing us what's going on. I mean, and I think he took color commentary to a whole new level, and now you got people like Tony Romo and, Chris Collinsworth and people like that, that I think John Madden sort of paved that way for these guys. So
tuning in and listening to John Madden, Pat Summerall announce a game, it was fantastic. They were just such a wonderful pairing, and John Madden with his in there with his X's and his O's, and then you got this guy, boom, and this guy, boom, and they're going to matriculate down the field. It was just, he like you said, he brought that commentary just to a different level, and what he did with the Telecaster, Telestrator, whatever you want to say. His six-legged turkeys he'd give out on Thanksgiving. You know,
yeah.
I mean, just everything that he put into his broadcast. Just an amazing man. And one of the things that I thought that was always interesting, didn't believe in airplanes, didn't like to be on airplanes.
Nope,
that's why he always had the Madden bus.
Yeah,
the Madden bus would pull into town. So, I mean, really a guy who put everything into it to drive, to take a bus from venue to venue as everyone else is just trying to stay abreast and stay up to speed while taking airplanes. Just a fantastic guy.
Yeah, he definitely is. So one of my favorite memories of him, and it's not something I witnessed, but it's something I read in a book that was written about the Denver Broncos, and it was covering the 1977 AFC championship game, or 78 AFC championship game that sent Denver to Super Bowl 12. At one point, Tom Jackson ran over to, because Denver had, pretty much sealed away the game, and Tom Jackson, who everybody knows now as someone on ESPN, ran over to John Madden and said, "It's all over now, fat man." So, and that's that is one of my favorite stories that I've heard of him. I just, and he said that John Madden just sort of chuckled, and didn't get irate and go, after him, or just sort of chuckled. But I think it's great. But great football coach. Did not realize that he had the highest winning percentage of any coach that coached over 100 games.
Yeah.
So very successful coach. Worked for all four of the major networks. I mean, ABC, NBC, CBS, and Fox. And went into the Hall of Fame in 2006. So
talk about a guy who walks away on top, though, too. Look at that record. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And what he was capable of doing. He could have stayed in coaching for another decade. With where he is at and what he was accomplishing at the time. It's amazing. Hey, win, baby, win. It's what we think about when we think about the Raiders. It was those years that John Madden was coaching, really.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And he walked away on his own terms. 42 years old when he walked away from coaching. So, I mean, now you got coaches. I mean, look at Pete Carroll. What's he going?
70.
70, So, I mean,
yeah.
You just wonder how good would John Madden have been if he stayed, another 10 or 15 years.
Amazing, right? Like you said, to walk away at 42, most guys are hoping to get in their career started around that age as a head coach in the NFL these days. The young ones are in their 30s. You know what I mean? And so to walk away at 42 is pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, and here's the thing that I really found amazing was Madden NFL series of football video games go all the way back to 1988.
Yeah.
I did not realize that, I mean, and it's amazing how big of an influence Madden has, the game, the football game. I mean, NFL players get upset about their player ratings inside the game. That's how much, I mean.
Not only did they get upset, they got upset so much that they actually have people that go out and reevaluate upon request.
Right.
If you think you have a legitimate complaint, to change your Madden rating within the game. It's amazing that it's excelled to that level. But yeah, the Madden experience online was 100% what I remember about Madden. Probably the most. You know what I mean? I remember one time sitting there playing Madden, and it's funny. Video games, they can program just about anything in. I don't know what year it was of Madden. Couldn't tell you. I was sitting there playing, and I was taking forever. I think I, had it in a pause mode or something like that. And Madden just sitting there talking in the background, and he was just on this endless ramble, which, of course, John Madden was known to go on from time to time in his broadcast. He would end up rambling just a little bit too long, and they kind of just start stumbling over his words a little bit. And it was the funniest thing to hear it programmed into this video game. You know what I mean? Where he just started rambling on about the football or something to that matter. It was fun.
Yeah, not trying to cover you up here, Keith. So, throwing up some things that Matt is throwing up. One, head over to Linktree and subscribe to our channels, Rocky Mountain Sports Network, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, everything else. And then here Matt says, shoot us your comments, questions in the feed. We want to make this an interactive show. So anybody out there, shoot us your comments, and we'll go ahead and do our best to answer them. One other thing about the Madden series I found amazing is that thing has generated over $7 billion in revenue. Wow. I mean, it's just amazing. I mean, it's a huge game. Everybody looks forward to when's Madden coming out, and so
I wish I remember the Twitter handle that actually put this out, but I did see shortly after his passing, the next Madden cover should be John Madden.
Oh, I agree 100%. It should be,
Talk about things that are coveted in the from the player's perspective. One thing is always their stats. Another thing is obviously that cover. But wow, John Madden on that cover would be the right place.
I remember for a few years there, it was a jinx to be on the Madden cover.
Yeah, it didn't necessarily want it.
But yeah, Matt says he buys it every year, so he's part of that $7 billion machine. So I don't play it a lot. I've played my son in it before. He always talks about how great he is. Last time I played him, I think I beat him like 42-7. He hasn't asked me to play again. So
that's fantastic.
Yeah. So definitely. And anybody out there, if and Keith mentioned this, on Christmas Day, they had a Madden special or a documentary on Fox. So if anybody knows when this thing's going to be replayed or anything like that, let us know. That way we can post this information in our Facebook group as well and on our Twitter accounts and everything else, so we can, I'm sure everybody's going to want to watch this now. I mean, Christmas Day was sort of a busy day and hard to get to a TV to watch it, and I forgot to set it up to record the dang thing. So
of course,
now I got to find somewhere to watch it, but I'm sure it's going to be aired in several places here in the near future. So,
just before we jump off the topic, I think it's great that here we are, really I know that we're an NFL, but really a Denver Broncos show, and here we are really honoring a Raider because of the man he was. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we said, he was a fantastic guy through and through. You can get repeated stories of just how great this man was. It doesn't matter if it was a player, a coach, a fellow commentator, just a man in passing. John Madden was loved by a lot of people, and even as a Denver Bronco fan, you've got to respect that man. So
yeah, you definitely do. I mean, it's like I said, when I was a kid, I despised the man, but that's what you do when you're a kid and you really don't understand things. But as you grow and you start to appreciate someone and you look back and you see what they've done, it's like, wow, that's just an amazing man. Started the All Madden team. I mean, Mark Schlereth from 104.3, the fan, he used to play for the Broncos, talking about the year that he got selected to the All Madden team. Said it was one of the highlights of his career of being selected to that team. I mean, it carried that kind of prestige with it for you to say, I'm an All Madden guy,
Yeah.
So pretty neat stuff. But really quick, we are going to go ahead and take a quick break for our sponsor, and then we will be back and we'll talk some more Denver Bronco football stuff.
All right.
All right. Little fancier today on the sponsor stuff. So
yeah. Well, thank you, Willow Seasonings and Blends. That was an awesome video. If anybody can, if you're listening only, you should check out the video. It'll get your taste buds watering.
So and that's the point. And just let everybody know we still have our year-end clearance sale going. It goes through January 31st. $6.50, 7 cents a bottle. So make sure you get over there and get it, because you won't see prices like this again until after next Christmas. So, all right. NFL and COVID. COVID is just running out of control, Keith. I mean,
yeah.
I think the other day, I can't remember the exact number, but they said it was the highest number the NFL's ever had in one day of new positives. And it's this new, I don't know if it's the Omicron, strain that's, it's just so much more contagious. I mean, the good thing is it's not, it doesn't affect you as badly, but we still got a lot of people, now the NFL has reduced the time frames of when people test positive to when they can get back on the field. So my question to you, Keith.
Yeah.
Are the Broncos, or not the Broncos, the NFL, are they doing this in spite of player safety? Are they doing it to generate revenue? I mean, what's your opinion on this?
Obviously it's going to help revenue. I don't see it completely in spite of player safety. What I see is, let's face it, the last couple of weeks have been a spiraling out of control with good players being off the field and teams just being decimated by the COVID-19 list. They needed to come up with a solution, and we spoke a little bit before. It's within guidelines to be at 5 days in a quarantine, and then be possibly back into a facility or back onto the field if that works out for you. I just see it as they need to find a solution in order to try to get this, narrowed down to where they could get players back onto the field a little bit quicker than the solution that they currently had, because teams would be, have, in the teens of players on the COVID-19 list, and then, be decimated on any Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday game. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So
Saturday, whatever game, whatever day it happened to be, it just seemed like, it was hurting teams. It was hurting the NFL. It was hurting the playoff system. They need to find solutions. And since this kind of sat within the guidelines, it made sense, and it will also obviously help produce revenue.
Yeah. And as Matt adds, Broncos added 4 players to the list today: Tim Patrick, Tyree Cleveland, Caden Stearns, and Calvin Anderson. So they're all ruled out for this weekend. Now, before everybody starts jumping on the bandwagon, say, oh, the NFL doesn't care about players and they just reduce it because they want money. The CDC has reduced this time frame to 5 days. So the CDC is now recommending only 5 days of quarantine time. So the NFL didn't reduce their time before the CDC came out with their recommendation. The NFL was just quick to,
follow suit.
Right, follow suit and say, yeah, we're going to go ahead and do this too. And I mean, I understand you're getting into the crunches season, you're getting into playoff season. It gets a lot harder now to start rescheduling games and everything else. And I mean,
well, not only rescheduling, but also the fairness. We talked about the turnaround times for teams that were, obviously it's fantastic to get your game pushed maybe a day or two if you're heavy on the COVID-19 list as a team. But what about that other team that only has 3 or 4 guys, on the list, and they're non-consequential players, I guess you could say, on any given Sunday? Now that team is pushed out a day or two, and they have less time to recover and less time to prepare for their next venture. So again, this will just hopefully clean up a lot of that. Teams will be more competitive on any Sunday or Monday game that they're playing, and we can move forward without massive rescheduling, which will be better for all teams, really.
Oh, I agree 100%. It makes it hard on the fans too, especially when they reschedule a game from a Sunday to a Tuesday, and you have to go and tell you, "Hey, boss, I got to leave early today. I'm going to the Broncos game." They'll be like, "No, you're really not." So,
as a guy sitting up here in Montana, I didn't think about that. It's not very often that I get tickets to a game, so I didn't really think about that. But for a guy like you who has a few season tickets, yeah, it'd be terrible to be pushed from a Sunday to a Tuesday. All of a sudden that really puts going to the game in question, right?
Right. Yeah, it definitely does. So, but I mean, it's hopefully they just get this whole thing under control. I think the best way to do it is, do we just go to 100% testing? I mean, daily testing. How do we do this to make sure that, we don't have people out there that are asymptomatic and they're just out there, spreading stuff around and they don't even know.
Yeah, reports, at least early reports, have been out that the current variant is not contagious if you're not showing symptoms. So that's one of the reasons that you see a little bit more leniency in the past with people who have not shown symptoms, I guess you could say. But I don't think it's spreading on the field. Obviously, like I spoke a few weeks ago, I think the teams that take this the most serious and put the most precautions into effect would be the best at coming out of this. I think now this is just going to expedite that with a 5-day turnaround. I hope they get to everyday testing because that's only going to help you. You know what I mean? If you're only testing on Mondays like we were before, the day after your game, I understand that gives you your 5 days, but boy, you could really expedite that to the field and maybe, catch a couple games at the end of the season right now rather than, or heaven forbid, you really want to expedite this if you're heading into the playoffs too.
Right. Yeah, and this here says that would be ideal, extremely expensive. Yeah, it would be expensive, but I mean, if you're talking a player safety rule, I mean, expense shouldn't outweigh player safety, in my opinion.
Correct. Daily testing was something that was around when COVID-19 first came out for the NFL.
Right.
So we would just be reverting back. It would just be saying we were going to continue to invest, or we're going to go back to the same investment level that we were at before. We're not talking about a league or owners that are short on cash in general. So we really shouldn't be talking about the expense of it. Believe me, it's fractional to them comparatively to what it is to you and me.
Right. It'd be like me and you going out and spending $100 or $500 or $1,000,
Yeah.
So,
it would cost quite a bit for us to just go out there and want to get daily tests, what I mean? But for the NFL, that doesn't mean too much,
No, it doesn't. So, with the wealth and everything. So, and Matt does have a question, though. Does player cooperation become an issue, though? And that would be something that would have to be, agreed upon with the NFLPA. I mean, it's not like the NFL is just going to come out and say, "Hey, starting tomorrow, we're gonna start testing everybody every day," because the NFLPA would say, "No, you're not." So this would have to be something that would have to be agreed upon.
The funny thing is the NFLPA is who's actually been pushing for more testing and wanting to get that out there. I mean, it's player safety really when it comes right down to it. So, the NFLPA has actually been pushing for that. But there are going to be players, Cole Beasley comes to mind of, a gentleman who may not want to be tested and or follow all COVID-19 protocols, tested positive himself this last week. So he was out and said that he wasn't out because of COVID. He was out because of the NFL. So gentlemen like that, he's probably not going to be
right.
He's not going to be really happy about daily testing if that's something that's instituted by both the NFL Players Association and the NFL.
No, I agree. And there are people like an Aaron Rodgers, he's probably not going to want to be tested every day.
Anybody that came up with a COVID-19 card that was, fake may not be on board with this either,
Oh, you mean the guys who committed a federal offense, but we're going to go ahead and unsuspend you because one of our other receivers got hurt. So
yeah, it's
the Buccaneers wouldn't do that, though, would they?
wouldn't do that. No,
I mean, no NFL team would do that. So
no. So we'll just expedite this process a little bit. No questions,
Right.
please.
Yeah, no questions, please. And don't bring it up in the press conference, anybody. Those questions will be ignored. So
I'm just here so I don't get fined.
Yeah, and I don't know how it is up there in Montana. I mean, we're up and down here in Colorado with hospital, availability and stuff like that. It goes up and down, up and down.
Yeah,
my daughter works in a hospital. She works in the non-critical care COVID wing from time to time, and she said it's up and down. Sometimes they have a whole bunch of patients. Other times, it's not horribly bad. So
yeah. Well, the one thing that we do have going for us is it sounds like the newest variant is though it's more contagious, is a lot less lethal than what we've seen in the past.
Right.
And if we go back to the basic science, and I'm getting way off topic from Denver Broncos, but the coronavirus has one common illness in common that or COVID-19 does. Coronavirus is also the common cold. So they're related. At some point, I think we'll actually see this just kind of level out to where it's something that we deal with on a yearly basis, much like the common cold. But right now, it still does have some issues, and we're having to prepare against it. And 5 days, well, it seems about right for quarantine. Is it, like you said, falls in line with the CDC guidelines as well?
Right. So, all right. We will move off of this science topic. So,
no more Bill Nye the science guy. Yeah. We're moving on.
Hopefully, everybody's still awake out there because this next one. If Matt was here, this next topic would wake everybody up because me and Matt have been going back and forth about this for quite a while today. I'm going to ask you, Keith, same question I posed to the group. Is George Paton making a mistake by not firing Vic Fangio so that way we can get a jump on getting some head coaching candidates in for interviews?
Long answer or Matt answer?
Well, Matt answer might be all over the place.
I say short answer or Matt answer. I meant to say so. I don't think they're making a mistake by not firing him at the moment. And the reason I say that is because if you look at the landscape, we really only have one team currently out there looking at potential candidates, right? We have the Jacksonville Jaguars that are out there looking at potential candidates. But other than that, it's been pretty quiet. There hasn't been any other firings. There certainly could be. Vic Fangio isn't at the very top of the list, There's a gentleman hanging out in Chicago that probably should be at the very top of this list. And I think because of what we've seen, since we really only have 2 vacancies currently for NFL head coaches, I don't think there's a rush to actually, go in and speak to Vic. By the way, I know on our last podcast, we were really going through that. What you need to do is inform the coach that he's not coming back and that you want to be interviewing coaches before you can, or interviewing other people for his position before you can actually do so. So that being said, like I said, I think if there was more firings, if there was more openings, if we saw one of those years where there already is 4 or 5 openings, then you'd be silly not to go in there if that was your idea or intention or plan to maybe possibly replace your head coach, to go in there and get a jump on it right now. Right. But in the current condition, I think we're okay.
So, and I just want to throw this comment up here because I want everybody to see what we put up with every day from Matt. Because he always thinks his answer is the best answer. Now, the reason Matt says his answer is the best answer because Matt's can cover every basis. So then that way he can come back and say, well, I said that. Well, yeah, you said that, and that too, Matt. So
okay, so we said this wasn't going to be. We were just joking it wasn't going to be a Matt pick-on show, but maybe just a little bit,
He's on your side, Keith. He's saying preach. So
there you go.
just to let everyone know, Jacksonville so far they have requested interviews with Brian Leftwich of Tampa Bay, their offensive coordinator, Dan Quinn, the Dallas Cowboy defensive coordinator, Kellen Moore, the offensive coordinator of the Dallas Cowboys. Now, Quinn has declined the interview.
I heard that.
So, and a lot of people say, well, he's staying in Dallas. Well, that's not really true. Maybe he just doesn't want to go to Jacksonville. So, I mean, that place is a dumpster fire. And I believe Jacksonville interviewed Doug Peterson today, the former Philadelphia Eagles coach. So, yeah, there's not a lot of action going on right now. Another thing, just to clear it up, you can interview, you cannot hire though. So it's not like you could interview Kellen Moore today and say, hey, we're going to hire you. Sorry, Dallas, you don't have an OC anymore. It still follows the same hiring schedules. And Matt says it's also to help it so it doesn't interview with or interfere with playoff schedules. So
absolutely. And I know we talked a little bit about this on our last show, and that's one thing that I was going to point out. That's one thing I really like about this rule is coming down the stretch. I always hated when that great offensive coordinator, that great defensive coordinator was being requested for interviews, from lower level teams and being distracted as they're heading into the playoffs.
Right.
But by moving this up a few weeks, by giving that ability, now, someone like Kellen Moore can go in and maybe talk to Jacksonville, and they're not in the midst of the playoffs at the moment. You know what I mean? They're not preparing to try to take on whoever, you know what I mean?
Right.
And taking time away, which I think a lot of times, you were really in a bad situation as a coordinator of what you were supposed to do. Should I further my career by going on this interview, or should I stick with my team because we're in the middle of the playoffs and they need me?
Right. And I think this 2-week period is fine during the last 2 weeks of the season. I think once playoffs start, I think there should just be a moratorium. I mean, especially on any coaches in the playoffs, because it is a distraction. It's a huge distraction for teams, for, people calling, hey, can we talk to your OC? Can we, and just let these teams get through the playoffs, and then after the playoffs and the Super Bowl's over, then open it up, and give everybody a fair shake. So, I guess we'll see. Where this Vic Fangio thing goes.
Where do you feel? Do you think we should be letting him go right now in order to get a jump on these candidates, Dave?
I mean, I wouldn't mind talking to some of them. I don't see what benefit we have from hanging on to Vic Fangio. Mm-hmm. It's not like we're making a run to the playoffs. Even if George Payton went to him and said, Vic, it's just not working at the end of the season, we're going to go ahead and part ways with you. That way it sort of gives Vic a little heads up too, and maybe the Chicago Bears or someone want to talk to Vic. So,
I'm sure.
But I don't know. I guess I see your point that if there were 4 or 5 teams out there interviewing, candidates right now, then Denver maybe should get into it. I think maybe after this weekend, after we see some of these games shake out, Mike Zimmer is on the hot seat. Nagy's on the hot seat. I mean, is Pete Carroll on the hot seat? I mean, you got a bunch of people that week 17 is over. Some teams might start saying, well, let's start cleaning house, and
Seattle's an interesting one because, with Russell Wilson being rumored as well, do you bow to Russell Wilson and do what he wants? Do you bow to Pete Carroll and do what he wants, or do you scrap them both and completely start over, which is just kind of insane to think of? And up in Seattle, it seemed like they had a great thing going for so many years and just been so close.
Yeah, and I think if I'm Seattle, I want to keep Russell Wilson. Yeah, Russell Wilson wants to play longer. He wants to play till he's 40, I think he said.
Yep.
Which gives him another 7 to 8 years. So why would you not try to say, okay, Russell, what do you want? What do you need to stay here?
Yeah.
I mean, Seattle doesn't have to trade him. It's just like Green Bay does not have to trade Aaron Rodgers. Everyone says, well, Green Bay told them they would. Well, it wouldn't be the first time somebody said they said something and they changed their mind,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and Aaron Rodgers may not want to. If Green Bay can go and they can re-sign Devontae Adams,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Aaron Rodgers may say, I don't want to leave, So, but
it really just depends. Talk about an organization that I said, hey, are they going to bow to this? Or are they going to bow to that? Really, that's kind of what Aaron Rodgers has kind of been wanting, just at least a semi-bow. You know what I mean? At least let me know you're going to draft a quarterback in the first round. It would be nice. I'm your franchise guy, and I'm a league leader and an MVP.
Right.
So I understand the hurt and the turmoil there when it comes to Aaron Rodgers. If they really open up to him and really want his opinion and take his opinion on just about anything and everything, it could be a different situation up in Green Bay. I agree 100%. So.
Yeah, and he did say today that he will sit down with Green Bay and talk to them after the season's over. So it's not 100% done deal that Aaron Rodgers is leaving. So Green Bay.
Yep.
So they may give him the $50 million plus he wants a year. So
yep.
And so we'll have to see. But Matt has a good point here too. Even with the new rule of team. Did I say that out loud?
I know. I was just like, what?
Goodness.
Matt has a good thought here. What?
The team with Custer coach on Black Monday will be fine. And they will. It's not like they're going to lose out on the greatest candidates,
Mm-hmm.
So we'll just have to see how things shake out with that. So I don't know if Vic Fangio just keeps losing my faith every week. And our defense is playing good.
Mm-hmm.
At times the defense can't help itself and can't get off the field when the offense needs the ball back to maybe score. Like at the end of the Raiders game when we punted with over 4 minutes left and the defense
couldn't get
get off the field. Yeah, they couldn't get the stop. I mean, yeah, we got a sorry, lost the train of thought. I was reading what Matt said. We got a defense that keeps teams out of the end zone, but I think at times the defense has hurt us as well by not being able to stop a team at a critical juncture of the game and gotten off the field. So, I mean, we can't blame everything on the offense. Yeah, 98% of our problems are probably offensive related, but I mean the defense has
there's been a stop or two
at times too, right?
I guess I just look at it, the overall points that we've allowed, and it's the amount of times that we've kept opponents under 20 points has been astounding, and even one of the games that we allowed an opponent over 20 points, we still won against San Diego, if I remember correctly. So it's tough when you're talking about the end of games when a defense has been put in a bad position all game long, and you get 3 and outs and bad field positions, and you've gotten interceptions and you've gotten fumble recoveries, and you've got those hard stops in the past, and then all of a sudden, like at the Raiders game is a great example. All of a sudden, they blow one open for a great big touchdown. Well, right. Of course, we were leading right before that, and the defense gave up that touchdown. But that was not in my opinion, that wasn't a game that, again, that was lost by the defense, even though that was the play that, ultimately, put us behind too. It's just, sometimes I just feel like this offense wears on this defense to the point that they do give up those plays too.
Oh, and I think they may, and I'm not trying to say, this is the defense is losing games for us. I don't think they're really losing games. The offense can't get out of their own way.
Yeah.
I mean, when we have an 0-, I think we're 0-7 now, 0-7 record when we hold teams to 17 points or less, then the offense is a problem.
Correct.
But the defense at times needs to be able to help the offense out, especially when you have an offense like ours.
Well, and I understand where you're coming from.
Sorry, and Matt throws up this comment, but it's not just one game. It's happened in a couple games where the defense just could not make a stop. You know, and I'm not trying to blame this whole season on the defense, so please don't go there, Matt. So, but I'm just saying there's been times where the defense has not been able to get off the field, and everybody wants to hang their hat on how great this defense is because of one game, you know, and that was the Dallas Cowboy game. But then they don't want to talk about, oh, well, let's not bring up the Eagles game, or let's not bring up, you know, these other games that we lost that we probably shouldn't have lost, but the defense really didn't show up.
Yeah, I think there's been times. I mean, I don't think they're going to be the Baltimore Ravens defense. I don't think they're even going to be the Chicago Bears defense that lured Vic Fangio into the eyes of the Denver Broncos. You know what I mean? Those were very, very elite defenses that even at time to time gave up plays. Where this conversation started was Vic Fangio, and like you said, I know that your frustration comes in the fact that, you know, yes, he may be a very good to high quality defensive coach, but it doesn't stretch much beyond that, you know.
Right. And
that's where the concern for you comes in is, you know, and rightfully so, when you see those plays that, you know, doesn't get us off the field like we need to in those critical situations. That's just one more check marks in the box of things that Vic Fangio maybe didn't do right in that game, right?
Right. You know, and our defense is good. I'll give them that. They're good. But this is not a great defense. Great defenses change games. Great defenses make those plays that change games. They, you know, and this defense just doesn't do that. You know, we're not that great at creating turnovers, you know, defensive scores and things like that. So
yeah, I think we had a few interceptions for touchdowns. I mean, even this last Sunday, quite honestly, the most impressive play I've seen by Bradley Chubb in probably a year and a half.
Oh, I agree.
That play where he came out and they broke it down perfectly. Originally he was coming after the quarterback. He diagnosed that it was going to be a screen, and you could see him drop back, jumps up, tips the ball like he's, you know, on the basketball team to himself, and then picks it up and dang near takes it in for a touchdown. I mean, to the 1 yard line. And that's the type of things that special defenses do, is score touchdowns. Don't get me wrong, we got our score, it was fine.
Right.
But, you know, that is a special play, a Pat Surtain touchdown, you know. It's not an every single game thing. It's not like you said, the Baltimore Ravens, where it was just like, you don't have to stop the offense. You got to figure out what you got to do about the defense.
I mean, it's not even the 2015 Broncos defense, you know. I mean,
agreed.
We can't even put it in that category. So,
yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying to say this is not a good defense, and here's Matt again trying to twist my words around. So it's a good defense, but I'm just saying there are times where this defense fails at critical junctures of the game, like the Raiders game. I'm not saying the defense lost the game. So even though Matt said that back up there, I'm not saying the Raiders or the defense lost the Raiders game. But we can go back to the game in Mile High. I bet you they lost it that one when we gave up 30-some points to the Raiders. But anyway,
34-24, if I remember right.
Right. I'm just saying that that there's times when the defense needs to step up and they don't. Yeah. You know, and can we blame a little bit of that on the offense? Yeah, the defense is out there. They're getting tired out, you know, things like that. But I mean, it's just frustrating at times when you got this defense that was basically handpicked by Vic Fangio, and at times they can't deliver on what they're supposed to do.
And I'll go back to, you know, if you really want to place that blame, I'm not going to put it on the players, Dave. I'm going to put it back on Vic Fangio, because it's towards the end of games. It's in those pressure situations when these drives really, really mean something. And then it's when you see the play calling typically go away a little bit from what we've seen all game. I don't want to say it's a prevent defense, because it's not a prevent defense. We've all seen that. but it's a little bit more laid back of a defense. You know what I mean? You're on
Oh,
your
I
toes
agree.
a little bit more, and they're not playing aggressively, and they end up giving up drives and giving up points in critical
Right.
situations. And
Yeah.
I think it does, whether it be Vic Fangio or Ed Donatelli, it goes back to the play calling that's happening on the field.
Well, and the way I look at it is they're not playing at that point to win the game. They're playing not
Correct.
to lose it,
Correct. And
And
that's one of the things that's kind of funny because in Chicago, with back Vic Fangio, we saw just the opposite. We saw a guy that it seemed like he would ratchet it up even further in those pressure situations. He would put even more pressure on the quarterback. He would come up with even more creative blitzes. What he did in Chicago is what was everything that lured us to him here in Denver, right? But
right.
it seems like we're seeing very much the opposite situation on any given Sunday with the Denver Broncos, to where when those pressure drives come up, it's not about creative blitzes and more pressure on the quarterback and just this amazing game plan. We see them fall back to a more preventative type of style.
Yeah, and we do, and it's frustrating at times. So, as a fan, to just sit there and watch it, and you know how good this defense can be, and I agree with you. I'm not going to put it on the players either. Yeah, every now and then they'll miss an assignment. That's just human nature. It happens.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of it boils down to this the play calling of Vic Fangio. I mean, we all know he's calling the defensive plays. He sits there and pats himself on the back every chance he gets of how great of a game he's called, but he kills us at times. And this is another reason I don't want Vic back. I mean, I think with trying to manage a game, trying to manage a defense and everything, he's not cut out for it. So
Yeah. For me, it really comes down to who's going to be the guaranteed high quality product that can come in there and produce like that, though, too. And that's where I get caught because, we do have a very good defense. I mean, one of the top in the league as far as points allowed. Yes, we could probably tighten up in some areas, but most teams and most fans across this league would love to have our defense and the points that we allow. I have a hard time giving that up and saying this is the guy I guarantee that will be either the offensive mind or the defensive mind, plus get all the play calls right when it comes to managing the game and throwing red flags and whatever have you when it comes to the mismanagement that we see from Vic Fangio. It's tough to see that guy out there that's just that for sure, surefire guy, I guess is the best way to put it.
Right. So we'll see where this all shakes out at the end of the season, or if we maybe sooner if we go into LA and we lose another one, maybe at that point, because it is now, he is the head coach. It is now about the whole body of work, not just what he's doing, acting like the defensive coordinator. He is the head coach. He's continuously let an offensive coordinator just keep developing these inefficient game plans, where you think Vic would eventually say, this isn't working. We need to change something, and we're just not seeing it. So
before we get off, I'll just say this real quick. Still better than Wade Phillips as a head coach of the Denver Broncos, even though he was one of the best defensive minds, I think, out there. I'll give you that.
I agree, but one other stat, my last stat I'm going to throw out there.
Oh boy,
this talks about his incompetence as a coach. 1-23 when trailing at the half.
Yeah, halftime adjustments. I keep talking about that.
Right, yeah. That speaks volumes. He does not know how to make them or put them into action. All right,
give you that.
Last thing. So Teddy Bridgewater, he's out again this week. I'm still in concussion protocol.
Yep.
Do you think we've seen the last of Teddy on the field? Let's say he clears concussion protocol. Is it in the best interest of the Denver Broncos, especially if we lose to the Chargers? I'm going to play devil's advocate. We lose to the Chargers this Sunday. So there is absolutely zero chance of us making the playoffs.
Correct.
With Teddy's 2 concussions this year, would it be selfish of Vic Fangio to put him out there on that field?
Selfish is just one of the descriptive words I'd probably use. When I think if Vic Fangio puts him on the field, foolish. It just, Drew Lock is under contract for one more year.
Mm-hmm.
He's under contract for a minuscule amount.
Right. Like, I think it's like $2.3 million.
$2.3 million.
Right.
So I wanted to give every opportunity to see what I can see from Drew Lock. I could care less at this point at what to see from Teddy Bridgewater. I know this is a big change from what I said just a few weeks ago, because I was all about bringing Teddy Bridgewater back on a contract.
I think we all were,
Yeah, but there's two things that kind of changed, and they almost happened simultaneously in my mind. One, Teddy Bridgewater got hurt once again.
Mm-hmm.
And quite honestly, that guy's been limping around on the field or not being able to play in some capacity for quite a bit of our season.
Right.
And he really doesn't have a great history of not being injured per se either. So that comes into play for me. The second thing is I went out and I saw Drew Lock play a game that he actually progressed. It's everything I've been asking for from Drew Lock. I hadn't seen. And I saw the progression from Drew Lock, and I want to see another game, and I want to see another game, and then I want to be able to make a decision about Drew Lock and whether I want to let him go or make him demand a trade, because he's not going to get a shake at the starting job at only $2.3 million for next season.
Right. And I think that's one thing that where George Payton can really make his mark is he can go up to Vic and say, shut Teddy down. We don't need to see any more. We know what Teddy is.
Yeah.
And Teddy's really not our future. I mean, I don't want a quarterback that has this injury history,
Dave, I hate to say this. I hate to say this, but even if he is your future, do you need to see him in week 18?
No, you don't. There's no point of it. You know what Teddy is. You know what Teddy can do. Exactly. It's not like we're bringing in a new offensive coordinator for week 18 and we're going to see how he gels with Teddy,
Right.
So, I agree with you 100%. Put Drew out there. Drew progressed. I mean, there's still a lot of lock floggers out there that say, well, no, he didn't do that good. Well, take off the glasses already. Take off the hater glasses, because he played a very good game. I don't know if you follow Tim Palmer or not. He's a pretty respected, quarterback evaluator and analyst. And he said Drew Lock played a very good game. Still had some bad decisions, but everybody makes bad decisions. Tom Brady makes bad decisions, I mean, Aaron Rodgers does. It just happens in the game. But Drew progressed. He went through his reads. He didn't panic in the pocket like we had always talked about. Mm-hmm. I saw him step up into a messy pocket several times and deliver dimes, and there's still some people in this group that don't want to admit that, but I mean, and so their whole thing is, well, he ignored the whole left side of the field. No, he didn't. He threw, I think, 6 or 7 passes to the left side of the field at a 22. Mm-hmm. So that's not ignoring it. Yeah. He's not calling the plays. He's doing what Pat Shurmur is calling. But they want to find a reason every time just to nitpick on Locke and say he didn't do this, he didn't do that. This was his fault. I saw a couple bad throws. He overthrew Albert O by about 10 yards on one play. But I mean, there was nothing horrible, nothing that, because I know we were all sitting around, and we talked about this on the post-game show. We're all sitting around wondering, well, when's he going to pull the Drew Lock moment and do something stupid?
Yeah.
And he didn't.
It didn't come. And the funny thing is 15 to 22, and I went back and I was trying to remember. I can only remember 2 to begin with, and then all 3 came to my mind. Jerry Jeudy's pass on the sideline that he tried to rip down. Hit him in the hands. He tried to rip it down really quick and ended up batting the ball down.
Right.
We had Albert O, obviously, who missed a fantastic throw.
Oh, yeah. That was a touchdown right there. He would have walked into the end zone.
walked into the end zone, or if nothing else, been inside the 10-yard line and
Right.
really set up to score. So,
Right.
and then Cortland Sutton on the sideline, who came all the way across the field, barely missed getting his second foot in. He tried to extend that second foot out,
Right.
got the first one in, got the second one, just didn't get in bounds. Those are three passes that, quite honestly, even that Cortland Sutton pass, even though Cortland Sutton wasn't able to get that second foot in, and everybody, the commentators on the screen, the whole 9 yards, were talking about what a wonderful pass that was to drop that in the way he did in that position, give his receiver the only chance to catch the ball and maybe get his feet in bounds. So now we're talking about, with those three, if that he gets his foot in bound, a couple of guys come up with some catches. We're 18 for 22, and who knows, maybe at least one TD with Alberto.
Right. See, and this right here is the kind of comments that drive me nuts, because they can't even see that, this guy threw some great passes. Yeah. I mean, if you can't sit there and really say he didn't do anything great, well, he did. He threw some really good passes. He was in some third and long situations where he picked up first downs. Something we don't see Teddy do. I mean, not third and long, but longer situation. I know we were 1 for 10, on third down, but a lot of that was, bad play calling, screen passes on 3rd and 14. It's like, what are you doing, Shermer?
Yeah.
So.
Or even worse, when we're in 2nd and long, calling a draw play or something like that, when we're in 2nd and 20 and coming up with a 3rd and 18 play, having to come up with a 3rd and 18 play after that,
Right. So. Just like I highlighted in our chat, I think it was yesterday, after the Raiders scored their touchdown, Locke came back, first play, he hits Judy for a long, almost a 40-yard catch and run. Next play, it's a pass to Javonte Williams out of the backfield, picks up 11 yards. But unfortunately, there's a penalty on Garrett Bowles. So now it's 1st and 20. Then we run it up the middle for a yard. It's 2nd and 19. Bobby Massey gets a false start. 2nd and 24. And what do? We run the old screen play again. So, I mean, no, I'm sorry. He hit a pass to Jerry Jeudy on the left side that everyone said he ignored, and put us in position to score a field goal. So, I mean, Locke played a good game. I mean, and some of the plays were bordering on very, very, very good.
I agree. I mean, if you look at the 32 performances across the league and you were trying to rank them, I think you put Drew Lock at mid to high in his performance just because of the way he went out there. He performed fantastically. Like you said, didn't matter if it was escaping the pocket, stepping up, going through reads, delivering the passes where they needed to be. There was nothing he did in detriment to the team that I could see almost all game. Yeah, you're going to have incomplete passes, but that's going to come with any, no one goes 45 for 45. So, that's going to come.
If you hit 68% of your passes, I'm not going to complain about that.
Yep.
And there were 3 drops, which would have put you over 70%, and probably over 200 yards and maybe even a touchdown. So then people are, but now everyone's like, well, you just only had 150 some yards, It's like, well, you got to factor in everything. You can't just look at stats and say, this is what happened.
Hey, I'll also factor into the fact that how aggressive was his running game? How much of a running game did he have to back him up?
Right.
It's not like this guy was, had this formidable running game that was just going off the charts and which was opening up passing lanes left and right, and he was just missing.
Right.
No, he had a running game that was non-existent. We couldn't get anything going. I think Gordon was negative yards on the day.
Negative 4 yards for Gordon.
Yeah.
And Javonte Williams had 12, I think.
Yeah.
And Drew Lock had 11.
So, there's only so much one guy can do,
Right, but
against a team that really obviously game planned very well against us. They shut down the run. That's what we were good at. We got nothing going on the run. Force Drew Lock to pass, and the guy doesn't throw an interception, doesn't go out there, doesn't turn the ball over, doesn't take terrible sacks for negative 15 yards or anything like that. He went out and played a decent game, and he should get a chance to play next week and next week. So,
and I agree.
All right.
So
it's nice for me and you to talk a
yeah,
little bit on here, Dave.
you and I, we can get it. You know, we can get on the same wavelength. So
Yep.
it's that Mac guy. So, but hey, boy, this hour went by quick. You know,
Holy cow! Yeah,
that's what happens when you're having fun. So, any parting shots? I mean,
boy, no. For a NFL full of parody this year, it seems like anything goes. It should just be a couple of great Sundays to watch football. So don't count out the terrible looking game that you happen to be flexed into your schedule, or it happens to be on your CBS or Fox affiliate or whatever it happens to be. You never know. It could just be one of those games where the Texans go out there and beat up on a great team. So,
yeah, definitely. And hey, don't flip on the TV tomorrow night looking for football.
Oh,
I went digging today. I'm like, oh, I got to get the games for us to pick. You know, there's probably a Thursday game, Saturday games. Nothing. Sunday, Monday only. I mean, and the NFL doesn't want to clash with bowl season. So
I do have one parting shot I kind of forgot about, buddy.
What's that?
Everyone should get over to Willow Seasonings and Blends, because with that awesome discount and everything, all those sales going through the end of January, you can't spice up your end of December.
Don't extend it for me, Keith.
Oh boy, I thought you said end of January. We'll definitely have to be getting end of December and definitely get in there and get some. I mean, quite honestly, Dave, you can't get generic no name brand seasonings for the price that Willow Seasonings is offering up. So that's my parting shot. Go out and get some seasonings, spice up your life.
Well, I appreciate that. And these are not the small bottles either, like you see in King Supers or Kroger's. These are the big 10.5-ounce bottles that you see in your barbecue supply stores and things like that. So
wonderful.
It's a pretty good deal. So, all right, everybody, have a safe and happy New Year. We'll be back Sunday. We're going to go ahead and shout out our sponsor one more time, and then we're going to hit our ending credits. But everybody have a great and safe New Year. Please do not drink and drive. If you live in the metro area and you need a ride, I don't care if you shoot me a message on Facebook, say I need a ride, I'll come get you.
There you go,
even if I don't know you, I just don't want to hear about somebody, not making it back because they thought they could drink and drive. So,
and enjoying the bowl games.
Yeah, definitely. All right, Keith, you have a great night. Everybody out there have a great night, and we will see you Sunday morning at 9 a.m.